Well, good morning and welcome to Morning Cuppa. It's great to have your company this morning. There's a moment, an extraordinary moment in Matthew's gospel where Jesus breaks the fourth wall, where he speaks directly into our lives, into your life, into my life. And he says this, "Come to me." You ever have the experience where you see somebody kind of waving to you and you think, I don't know if they're waving to me. And you're looking around and you don't want to be the one who says hi, and you see that they're talking to someone else. And I think sometimes we have that same kind of experience with Jesus. He's saying, "Come to me," and we think, is he talking? He's talking to those guys in the stained glass. No, he's talking to you. He's talking to me. And notice what Jesus doesn't say when he says, "Come to me." He doesn't say, "Come to me, all you who have your life all together, who have your faith sorted, who know who you are and what you're about. Come to me." He doesn't say that. He doesn't say, "Come to me, all you who are the fittest and the strongest and the most wise and the most connected." He doesn't say that. He doesn't say, "Come to me, you who are spiritually ready to move mountains, you who are emotionally and mentally ready to face down the powers of this world." He doesn't say that. What does he say? When he breaks the fourth wall and speaks into your life and my life, what does he say? He says, "Come to me, you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I wonder if there's somebody watching this morning who's feeling weary. It's not just that, "Oh yeah, I could use a little break," or "Yeah, I'd like to go for a nap and get refreshed." No, you're feeling weary. You're weary with all the stuff that's going on in the world around you. You're just weary with all the things that are tearing inside you and the stresses in your head. You're just weary and burdened. If there's someone who's watching this morning who's feeling that right now, this is Jesus' word to you. You're the one he's addressing, not somebody behind you, not somebody beside you. He's talking to you. "Come to me, you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And he goes on to say that my yoke is easy, my burden is light. And you might wonder, well, how could that be? A yoke is an instrument of hard work. How could a yoke be easy? Listen to what he says. He doesn't say your yoke is easy, your burden is light. He knows that your burden is not light because he's carried your burden. He knows how heavy it is. No, he says, my yoke, Jesus says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. He's not giving you his yoke. It reminds me of when I was when I had young kids. I've got teenagers now. But when they were young kids, sometimes I'd ask them to help me with a job. Like we're going to move this chair from this part of the room over to that part of the room. And they'd kind of hold on to the leg and walk along while I did all the heavy lifting. Or like when we'd put the star up on top of the Christmas tree at Christmas time. That was a job. They loved to help with that job. And what I would do is I would take them and I'd pick them up and hold them up and maneuver them, and then they got to put the star on the Christmas tree. But I was doing the heavy lifting. I had to do the heavy lifting. They couldn't do that. And that's what Jesus is doing when Jesus calls us into discipleship. He's doing the heavy lifting. It's his burden. It's his yoke. He's not laying on further expectations. He wants us to have the joy of sharing in his work, and he does the heavy lifting. And it contrasts with the religious leaders at the time. Right after he says that, he has this run-in with the Pharisees because his disciples are hungry. See, it's just, the Pharisees, they don't care that his disciples are hungry. All they care is what his disciples do because they're hungry. They pick corn and they eat it. And that's work. And they do that on the Sabbath. And that breaks the rules. So they are really angry with Jesus because his disciples work on the Sabbath, because they're hungry. They don't care that they're hungry. They just care that they worked. And Jesus, he offers this really good biblical defense of why they're eating on the Sabbath. The Pharisees don't want to hear it. They don't care. All they care about is their rules. And so when it's time for worship, and they're gathered in the congregation, and Jesus is sitting there in the congregation, they all but dare him to break the Sabbath again, because there's this man in the congregation, he has a withered hand. And they just want to see, okay, is Jesus going to heal him on the Sabbath? And Jesus does. Jesus heals the man on the Sabbath. And this is a huge thing, because he is facing down the rule book religion of the Pharisees, the yoke that they want to put on people, the burden that they want to put on people is you need to do this and this and this and don't do that and that and that. And that's not what Jesus is offering. Jesus isn't offering a different kind of rule book religion. He's not offering, well, I'll lay a burden on you, but it won't be as onerous as the Pharisees. No, he's saying, come to me, you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. You know what kind of rest he's talking about? He's not talking about sit down in the lounge chair and watch him do everything. No, he's talking about the rest that we see in Exodus 33, where Moses is feeling weary and burdened with the responsibility weighing on his shoulders of leading God's people through the wilderness. And this is what God says to him in Exodus 33:14. The Lord replied, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. That rest that God is promising is bound up with his presence with us. And Christ's promise is his presence with us. The one who knows our burdens. He knows our burdens are heavy because he's carried our burdens. He knows our burdens. And he promises us rest in his presence. The promise is not that life is going to be easy, smooth sailing from here on out. That's not the promise. The promise is, I am with you. I am with you. And I pray that if you are feeling weary or burdened today, that you hear the voice of Jesus speaking into your life right now. Come to me, and I will give you rest. I am with you. When he speaks to his disciples at the end of Matthew's gospel, at the culmination of his ministry, those are his words to them. It's not that, it's going to be smooth sailing, lads. Don't worry, everything's fine from here on out. No, it's I am with you always to the end of the age. And I pray that today, as you go through today, that you experience his presence with you. In all of your wondering and all of your wandering, that you hear him say, I am with you. In all of your struggles, in all of your trials, you hear him say, I am with you. And as you go and as you grow in him, that you hear that promise and you know his presence. And in that, I pray that you do have a hope-filled day.